With Marvel Rivals Season 4 finally here, many of the strongest compositions, synergies, and heroes are completely different. That's why in this video, we're going to break down the best comps and strategies so you know exactly what heroes you should build around to build amazing team compositions and dominate in this meta. Well, actually, it says only about 10% of you are subscribed. So if you haven't already subscribed, what video do you want to see on this channel? What guide, what content do you want to see so I can earn that subscription for you? Let me know in the comments down below and I'll get right on it. Also, check me out on Twitch if you want to continue the conversation. Ask me any question. Links will be in the description. Let's jump in though. Now, there are a lot of really powerful compositions and synergies, so I'm going to talk first about the direct synergy that is seeing the play, and then the composition that goes around the synergy to kind of make it a full-fledged comp, and how that comp kind of plays. So first, we need to talk about Mag Phoenix, still an extremely powerful duo synergy. While they don't directly share like an actual ability synergy, the true synergy is Phoenix ult plus Mag ult. It's going to first wipe away all types of shields, barriers, get everyone to low. The Mag is going to finish them off. So whether they're Luna ulting, whether they're Cloak ulting, whether they're anything, it doesn't matter if they're being blocked by Strange or Mag or whatever, you're still going to be able to kill through basically anything. And there's not really much counterplay besides Cloak fading it or y'all spreading and just allowing the support to die, which in a lot of cases is the best thing to do because you're not going to be able to keep them alive. So you literally just sacrifice the defensive ult in the face of 2 ults. And yes, they get a pick, but hopefully you trade out with your other ults. Now, this combo is still amazing, and you get to play 2 S-tier characters, 2 of the best characters in the game. So yeah, Mag plus Phoenix, really, really great together still, and one of my most recommended duo partners that you can run. However, it isn't quite as powerful as it was last season, mainly just due to the fact that Luna Loki trying to just stay alive through everything was getting a lot of value. And this counter combo was a direct fold of that, plus opponents didn't really understand what was going on, so shield tanks would try to protect you and then die with you, and everyone would kind of stack together and all die. That's not going to be the case as much anymore, so you're not getting as much free value with enemies trying to stop something. They literally just can't, because remember, you can't even shoot the Phoenix ult because the Mag is sucking up all of the projectiles, and you can't shield it, so most of the time, there's nothing you can do, and you're just better off, like, abandoning the Luna, or she tries to run away and not get shielded, and then she probably dies anyways, but at least only she dies. Now, the great thing about this duo is that you can kind of put it in with anything. You can play this with, like, a Namor Hulk. You can play this with, like, a Cap, freaking Black Panther. They just bring a lot of stability to a comp, so it doesn't really matter what you're playing around this too. As long as you're setting this up, this synergy up, when there are spots where it's good, you're going to get a lot of value, and it's super, super good. Now, the second thing we need to talk about is Ultron Torch. This is pretty obvious. It's been super strong, and it's still very strong. And if you don't ban Ultron or you don't ban Torch, this is going to be in your games for sure. And it pretty much makes the Torch uninteractable. I think if you're not going to play specifically Ultron Torch, you should almost always ban either Ultron or Torch, because a Torch without an Ultron, there are counter ways to deal with them. And an Ultron triple support, there are also ways to deal with an Ultron triple support without an Ultron. But together, they just become this, like, unstoppable force where the Torch is just being permanently pocketed. He does this movement tech, and you just can't touch him. It's so freaking strong. You're Voltroning him up, making him basically untouchable. And one of the best ways to counter a Torch is with an Ultron as well. So then you're kind of mirroring it, and then, you know, better Torch wins. It's just a complete mess because Ultron plus Torch together just make your Torch unkillable, so he gets to constantly apply pressure. And typically you play him with a triple support, so you have these really powerful defensive cooldowns. You have a Torch who's constantly forcing them out in the neutral, and he can never die, and also able to kill through some of them, and it's just really, really difficult to deal with. I also say that Ultron is just good in triple support. We'll talk a little bit more about triple support later, but triple support is very strong, but there's a lot of variants of it. It's not just one triple support comp. There's many, and they typically require a certain amount of damage-based characters or characters that can do damage in that comp. Ultron fits that really well as a character that builds up very, very fast, as a character that can contest divers, is really good at anti-dive. Some characters like Spider-Man and BP just have a basically impossible time trying to beat an Ultron, and Ultron's really just a stat monster. So even outside the Torch, Ultron has like developed a really powerful spot in the meta in pretty much any triple support comp, you can just slot them in. You give your comp a lot of stability. You trade a little bit of damage for more survivability tools, but really, you still have a lot of damage with Ultron. If the Ultron player can aim, he can hard carry from this role, from this slot, and in most cases, he's just going to do more than a DPS would in that slot. But we'll talk, like I said, more about triple support later. Now, the other thing we need to talk about, the next type of synergy is actually the Jeff-Venom synergy. The team up between Jeff and Venom is really, really strong. It's almost like a mini soul bond, not quite as powerful, but still incredibly powerful, and them combined get to do some really interesting things. Not only can Venom and Jeff like set up in these weird angles where they can come from pretty much anywhere and they can kind of play isolated, but Jeff also can heal the Venom really well. He can deal damage to the things that the Venom is on while healing the Venom. And with that synergy, and then let's say double support where you're playing like Luna and Adam, all of a sudden you have the Jeff Venom team up, then you have the Adam Luna team up, then you have regular soul bond. And the thing about Jeff that's so strong right now is with the new buff to his ultimate, it really allows you to just kind of have your cake and eat it too. You get to make an aggressive play where you maybe kill 2 people and yourself, but then also keep your team alive to win the fight on point. And when you combine that with a character like Venom and all these powerful team-ups, you have a comp that can really win fights off of low resources, exit fights and re-enter fights, hit a fight really quickly and force out cooldowns. I really do think that one of the best comps in the game, if played at like a perfect level, is Luna, Adam, Jeff with a Star-Lord, Venom, and Matt, because then you just get all this flexibility. You get to bubble in the Venom. You get to bubble in the Star-Lord twirl. You get to Jeff bubble speed boost the Star-Lord twirl. You get to have Jeff, Venom, and Star-Lord set up executions or set up like staging from pretty much anywhere on the map, so you can, you know, jump a support, spawn camp a support, hit the back line, and you get to hit it in a way where no one dies. You force out a defensive ult, you disengage, then you can re-engage later. It's really strong, it's really dynamic, but it does require like a lot of coordination. And I think that one of the things I'll say is people have this really negative idea about triple support in their mind. And I get it. You hate triple support. You hate nothing dying and everything just sitting around. That's really not how this triple support comp runs at all. I mean, Jeff is active. Adam is active. You got people trying to engage and force out cooldowns early, force out defensive ults early so that they can kill. And then you have combos like Venom damage boost to kill through defensive ults. And then you have Star-Lord to clean it up. It's like you're not really trying to play the I'm gonna stay alive forever game. All you're doing is really playing like Adam as a half DPS and Jeff as a half DPS, and you're playing just like a weird 2-2-2, but with 2 supports. I know that that sounds kind of strange, but it doesn't really play like other triple support. None of these triple support comps really play like the old triple supports where they were just like, we're just gonna sit here and do nothing and then just like do 24 seconds of Luna ult into like cloak. Like, that's not what we're doing here. We're doing things to like combo through, kill through, force out early, or win the fight before ultimates are up. So it actually is pretty interesting. Now, the other synergy I gotta talk about, of course, is Strange Magik. I think this one, especially for ranked play, is amazing. Strange is just in a completely different tier right now with his power level, because having Maelstrom Mantis on 6 seconds means you're never gonna answer yourself, and you're just gonna output so much more consistent burst. You combine that with Magik being able to just brawl like crazy, just farm like crazy, combo kill backlines. You're just this amazing duo characters that can hard carry. Both of y'all can hard carry, and together you can really clutch up fights. But I do think that something that you should consider specifically about a Strange player is as you go up against better and better teams, you're oftentimes not looking for the biggest Strange ult. You're trying to look for individual pickoffs or things that you can get in the middle of a fight. Like sometimes you're literally just ripping your ultimate in the middle of someone else's defensive ult, and then you're going to shield off the healing and kill one person. Like, it's not as flashy, it's not as big, it's not as I killed everyone on the enemy team, but it can win you fights just by, you know, eliminating one target. And I think the less greedy you get as you go up against better and better players, and the more specific you get with your ultimates, the more value you're just going to get on average. And then for the Magik player, I think it's just understanding how you're going to play the matchup. Are you brawling more? Are you diving backlines? What can you get away with? And really just trying to keep that uptime up as much as possible and just not dying. Make sure you're engaging based off your teammates' pressure. All really, really important things. Now, number 5, pretty obvious one, Emma Psylocke, still amazing. Psylocke is still just great by herself. Emma's still great by herself. They're both still S-tier dominant DPS in spite of their nerfs, but when you play them together, they're just that much better, and you could just kind of slot this in with anything. Like, you could play Emma, Psylocke, and slap it with a Hulk Namor, or slap it with a Strange Magik, or slap it with a Mag Phoenix. Like, you could play this pretty much with everything, and I think it's a really powerful duo, because Psylocke can still carry, Emma can still carry. You're contesting pretty much everything you need. Like, Emma deals with anything in her close range, so she's good against brawl, she's good against dive, she's good up close. Psylocke gets to contest the things that Emma doesn't really have counterplay against, you know, the things that are spamming from afar, the Moon Knights, the Squirrel Girls. Psylocke can contest those things directly, so they really like work well at just being really strong and covering for each other's weaknesses, and they can slot into basically any comp. And then the 6th one I did want to mention is Hulk Namor. I think against most of the other comps I talked about, Hulk Namor does struggle, besides against like Magik. I think Hulk Namor is good against Magik, but Hulk Namor is going to be best at just dealing with ranked nonsense. When people are playing triple support, hyper meta, long range poke, Hulk Namor definitely struggles a bit. When people can like just force a Hulk out, and they have good mobility to get away from the Hulk, and they can destroy Namor's squids and force him out of an off angle too fast, too much, because, you know, Namor's going to walk the flank, drop 2 squids, right-click a support. But every time they try to go for that and then get forced out, there's a cost there. He doesn't even really need to die. It's just like he gets an uptime problem where he goes on a flank, gets forced out, goes on a flank, gets forced out over and over and over again. And I think that the more chaos the fight is, the more there are divers in the back line, no one's peeling, they're not playing perfect meta, that's when Hulk Namor really shines. But outside of that, it's just fine. It's not like dominant, but it is still performing well. And I really think that this is actually the most powerful duo to run in the hands of a good Hulk and a good Namor, like below probably like the top 5% of play. When things are more random and crazy, Hulk Namor definitely succeeds even more so. Now, there are some powerful other strong comps and heroes that I wanted to mention because I don't want you to think that they're not playable, because they are. It just depends on the situations they're good in. I think Groot plus Mantis triple support is still really great. That heal wall, you get a lot of value, ults fast. Groot is one of those characters that can just go above and over a lot of 3 triple support compositions. And if your opponents are running triple support, I actually do think that triple support Groot will win the mirror most of the time. And there's a lot of reasons for this. Number 1 is Groot's so good at trading damage with opponents, because if he has a lot of resources up against triple support, he's like never gonna die, right? But he trades better and faster. He's lapping tanks on their ult charge. You know, when the enemy mag has 50%, Groot already has an ult. He can rip an ult before anyone on the enemy team gets a defensive ult, win a fight with that. And even if they do mirror, it's one of the best to combo with, to just kill through. And even if they start popping, you can build up like 60-70% of another Groot ult in the brawl exchange of triple support just dumping ults, and then ultimately be the other ult at the end of the tunnel, right? You started the fight off with an ult, and you end the fight with another ult. It's just super strong, and I think that people have kind of just disregarded Groot and slept on him. And there are some bad, frustrating matchups with him. I think Angela's actually pretty good against Groot. I think Thor is reasonable against Groot. I think characters that want to move him around, and he does struggle with flyers. But in the right situations, Groot can make the entire game about him and carry harder than anyone else. So I think he's a good character to have as like a pocket pick. And of course, he's going to be better on maps with choke points and things like that, like Dracula's Castle. Also, there are some characters that I didn't really mention in any of the strong synergies. Characters like Bucky, Hela. I want to make it clear that these characters are good. They just kind of can slot in wherever you want them to slot in. If you need long distance poke and you're good at Hela, you can make her work, and she's really good in the right hands. Bucky's really good at anti-dive, creating stability to your team while also being able to take tanks out of position depending on the matchups. I think he doesn't really play that well with dive mobility characters, but he plays well with just about any front line, so you can still get a lot of value there. And I think these are characters that you can kind of slot into a comp when certain things are banned or certain things aren't available, or you need certain tools to just help your comp. These are fine characters to like be like sub-ins, so to speak, but they're never the first best option. They're always just like a reasonable person to put in a comp. Now, I did want to talk about the flavors of triple support, because once again, triple support is not all the same. There's a lot of different ways to build triple support, and there's really bad ways to build triple support. And I also wanted to talk about how you can beat triple support with 222 in a second. So first off, in triple support, there's a couple of things you need to make sure that you have. You need to make sure that you have enough damage. A triple support that doesn't have enough damage will not be able to kill anything. And then you're just looking at a Groot that no one can kill the walls, no one can shoot the Groot, and you lose the game. And there's these characters that they're out of position, you don't have a way to kill them. And that's why in every triple support comp, you need to fill it with characters that provide either utility, damage, or both. That's why Mantis works really well, Adam works really well, Ultron works really well, even Jeff works really well, because you need ways to do damage. As you take away a damaged character, you need to bring some of it back. Remember, ultimately what triple support is doing is you're sacrificing some amount of damage value, damage playmaking for more survivability and sustain. But you don't want to just eliminate it because then you don't have enough. You need to take some of it. So like, think of a character once again like Ultron. You're taking some of your damage capability. Like, let's say you sub out a Hela for an Ultron. You're not able to get picks like you once were. You're not able to output as much damage or playmaking as you once were. But you still can do some of it, some percentage of it. Maybe it's 30, 40, 50%. And you also get all these survival tools to bring stability to your comp. And that's why it works, because survivable defensive tools are at a premium right now. Just case in point, Magneto, the tank with the most amount of defensive tools in his kit. A barrier that doesn't break, a bubble that can protect him, being able to fight from distance, lots of defensive tools. Oh, and crowd control as well, and his ultimate is defensive oriented, where he can survive or counter a lot of different ultimates. Very defensive character. Defense is at a premium, and that's what you're doing when you're subbing out a DPS, is you're kind of offsetting that. But you can't be all defense, right? You can't win the game by doing nothing. You need to offset it with some damage. So, like I said, every triple support comp needs to have some way or multiple ways to do damage, and that's why when I suggested like a Jeff, Adam, Luna, you have powerful defensive utility, but you also have Jeff, Adam, and even Luna to an extent dealing damage. But if you run like a triple support comp like Cloak, Luna, Invis, all of a sudden your characters are going to have a really hard time building ultimate. You don't have enough offensive capabilities, offensive damage, so there's going to be characters out of position you just literally can't punish, and you're going to have all the ultimates in the world but lose the game slowly, or get your ultimates forced out because you can't contest anything. You can't get this tank out of your backline. You can't stop anyone. So you need to have a healthy amount of damage in there, and that's where all of the Mantises, Adams, Jeffs come in, Ultrons come in. And also, in general, you're going to want to have two tanks, because when you're running triple supports, no matter what combo you have, you want to be able to still charge your ultimates. You want to be able to still build your ultimates. It's something that, like as an example, what an Ultron really wants to do is he wants to build ultimate first. So even if you're picking Ultron to be anti-dive or whatever, you typically put your drone on whatever tank frontline is going to take the most damage, ideally both of them, and then you build up an Ultron ult faster than anything else. Then you can win that first fight with Ultron ult, or you can use it to bait out a defensive ult if the fight has gotten to that point. So having one tank makes the entire like charging of ultimates take longer, and that's something that you can kind of capitalize. Is the enemy team will have support ults way slower than you would normally think if they're rocking like one tank triple support, and that's something you should keep an eye on. But the real question that a lot of people have is, okay, I understand triple support is cool, there's cool ways to play it, but I don't really want to play triple support. I want to play 2-2-2. How do I win anyways? Well, there's several things that you can use and abuse to make triple support lose the 2-2-2. I think the biggest thing is that in general, 2-2-2 should be a superior comp. It should be a powerful, well-balanced comp, because there's powerful defensive utility. There's plenty of it in the defensive role and in the off-tank role and in the DPS role, that, you know, having the playmaking of 2 DPS, having the balance of 2-2-2, having more ultimates, like supports that can perfectly build their ultimates on time, that all could be really good. But the problem here is that a lot of, to be honest with you, DPS players are trolling. I'm going to say that as someone that plays DPS a lot. DPS players troll a lot, because here's the problem. When you are using an offensive DPS ult and you are not able to successfully punish, bait, or kill through a support ult, you have already lost the exchanges immensely, and it would have been better if you used something defensive as well. Basically, when you have an offensive ult, the burden of use is pretty much on you, as opposed to a defensive ult where you only have to use it when it's needed. An offensive ult is something that you're going to have to fire off when the opportunity presents itself. And the problem is, if you fly in with the Buckio, as an example, and you get pushed away and they get healed up and you don't kill anything, you don't force out a defensive ult, then you just wasted your ultimate for nothing. And now the economy trade is just so poorly in your team's favor, because instead of having the triple support with the defensive ultimate that can allow you to like sustain the fight when it's needed, now you just don't have that, and you didn't get the value. That's why when you're playing 2-2-2, the burden is so heavily on you to make the play that does one of these three things. Number one, kill through defensive ults. If you are setting that up, it could be with a Namor damage boost. It could be with like a Bucky comboing into a Groot. It could be whatever it is. Killing through, of course, is going to be crazy value if you could do it, because you kill the person and you counter the ultimate. Now that's hard, but the second one is to just kill them when they don't have one, right? So like they don't have a defensive ult, you pop your ultimate, you kill the whole team. There's a lot of ults that are like that, where a Star-Lord uncontested, a freaking Psylocke uncontested, they don't have a defensive ult, you win. But there are some ults that you pop and use and you get no value with it. Unacceptable when you're playing 2-2-2. It literally is unacceptable. If you're popping an ultimate and you do not get value with that ultimate, even in spite of them not having or not using an ult, you literally cost your team that team fight. And then the last thing is you need to be able to force out ultimates and still live. I think popping a Star-Lord ultimate, for example, and making their Luna ult is cool, especially if you know the fight, it hasn't started yet. You're going to kind of force the fight a little early, pop your ultimate, force her to use, and then back up. That's perfectly fine. That's a more than good exchange. But popping Star-Lord ult, the Luna doesn't ult, you die, unacceptable. Popping Bucky ult, flying into the enemy team, and forcing out a Cloak ult is reasonable, but it's better if you don't die. And that's why more premium is on ultimates that can force out ults without killing you, and ults that are easy to use without you dying. Something like a Psylocke ult or something like a Phoenix ult. Very easy ults to force out abilities or use without dying. But I gotta make it clear that you have to understand the burden that there is on the DPS players when you're not playing triple. It's much higher. And there's also a burden on supports to be as you know, not ult in response to defensive ults unless you absolutely have to. Hold on to those ults. Try to position yourself more passively. Try to kite away. Because if you're just doing this thing where they pop an ult, you pop an ult, they pop an ult, you pop an ult, your DPS already wasted his ult, now they're up a support ult on you. So very, very important to think about these things if you want to win up against triple support. And then also use your extra bit of damage to heavily pressure and force out ults in situations where they don't want to use them, right? If you have, you know, more damage overall, more focus fire, you can force that Luna to ult when she doesn't want to. You can force that Cloak to ult early. These are things that you need to look out for if you want to beat triple support. But anyways, I hope that this meta analysis has been helpful for you. But if you have any questions about the meta and how it's developing, let me know in the comments down below. Make sure to smash the like, subscribe. If you enjoy the content, let me know what videos you want to see next. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.